My manager demanded a doctor's note or I'm fired, so the doctor gave me 2 weeks instead of 2 days. When I was in my early 20s, I worked at a large electronics store. I should mention that I was an extremely reliable employee. I was never late, often arrived early, and rarely called in sick. At the time this happened, I hadn't called in sick for 8 months, and even then the assistant manager had sent me home. I had been awake all night with what felt like severe food poisoning. I was alternating between burning fever and violent chills, clearly running a high temperature. I'd been vomiting constantly and dealing with stomach issues from both ends. At one point around 3 a.m., I was on the bathroom floor with my head over the toilet, absolutely miserable. I must have passed out because the next thing I knew I was waking up on the cold tile and it was 8 a.m. I was scheduled to start work at 1 p.m. that day, but that obviously wasn't happening. So I called my manager. Let's call him Derek. Derek was known for being a complete nightmare. He never believed anyone who called in sick except his buddies, but often called out himself, usually hungover rather than actually sick. The conversation went as follows. Me. Hey Derek, sorry but I can't come in today. I'm really sick. Derek. With what? Me. I think it's food poisoning. I've been up all night vomiting and I have a fever. Derek. Don't be ridiculous. If you were really that sick you'd be in the hospital. I need you here. Come in or you're fired. Me. I can't. I just told you I can't stop throwing up. I passed out earlier. Derek growling angrily. Either show up or bring a doctor's note or you're terminated. In my state, you're legally allowed to self-certify for up to 5 days. This means you can tell your employer you're sick without needing a doctor's note. If you're sick longer than 5 days, then you need documentation. It's also illegal to demand a doctor's note during the self-certified period. I knew this, but I was terrified. This was during the recession, and I couldn't afford to lose my job. So I got myself dressed, nearly passed out trying to do so, then took the bus to the urgent care clinic. I ended up sitting in the waiting room for over an hour, which for walk-in was pretty good. I got in to see the doctor and she was furious at me for coming in. You're not supposed to come to urgent care when you have a stomach bug, she told me. Of course I knew I should be able to self-certify. I then explained what happened with Derek and how he threatened to fire me, and that I couldn't afford to lose my job. My doctor turned her anger toward my manager. She asked if I got sick pay from the company and I said yes. He wants a sick note, does he? The doctor said, okay, I'll give him a sick note. Now, my manager just wanted a note confirming I was sick. Instead, my doctor wrote something along the lines of, my name has come to the clinic because Derek's name has insisted she come in despite the fact that this is illegal and all employees are allowed to self-certify. Due to being forced to make this unnecessary and dangerous trip while the patient is severely ill with a fever of 102 degrees Fahrenheit and nearly passed out in the waiting room, I am signing my name off for 2 full weeks to recover. Had my name been allowed to self-certify, as is the law, they might only have needed a few days, but due to straining themselves, they now require 2 full weeks. They are not to be permitted to work until date 2 weeks later. The doctor said she would have signed me off longer, but this was the longest she could do without requiring further evidence. So basically, instead of just being off for a few days, I was now signed off for a full 2 weeks and I'd be paid for it. I went to my workplace where one of the duty managers saw me and asked what I was doing there. Go home. I was obviously very unwell. I explained what happened and they helped me downstairs to Derek's office. I handed Derek the note. He looked worried and tried to say he wasn't being serious about firing me. Well, when you angrily growled it down the phone, it sure sounded like it. The duty manager then said they were driving me home. Derek had a disciplinary hearing where he was given a severe reprimand and warning. He tried to argue he never said I'd be fired and I was lying, but the duty manager said they heard him admit to it when he said he really didn't mean it. I felt better after a few days and enjoyed my 2 weeks off, fully paid. Meanwhile, Derek was forced to work overtime because we were short-staffed. So thanks to the doctor, instead of being off for a few days, I ended up getting a nice 2-week paid vacation, and Derek got a final warning, all because he insisted I get a doctor's note.